welcome to CA Uncensored, a very special edition. We have none other than my friend and one of the major stars of the WWE. Now he's like running the company, or partially running the company. Triple H, what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
Thanks so much. Look at that, you don't know your own
Marty
strength.
knocking things over.
So I see your arm. Everybody knows about what happened with Brock.
Yeah, a little bit of a misunderstanding with Brock Lesnar, and we got a bit of an altercation, and he kind of did some damage to my arm here.
Yeah, and you're not the type of guy, I mean, to take to that very lightly. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some repercussions. Can you tell us about what the strategy is for your revenge? What are you plotting, man? I know you're up to something.
You know, I'm not necessarily plotting anything. This whole thing stemmed from a business misunderstanding between Brock and myself, and Brock and the WWE, actually. And he had some ridiculous demands that we weren't going to cave into. And when I told him so, he attacked me from behind. You know, I don't want to see Brock Lesnar fired. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar to run and hide. I want to be able to, there's a lot of things I want to say to Brock Lesnar, but I want to be able to say them to his face. So sooner or later he'll decide to show his face again, and when he does, we're going to have another discussion, and this one will be face to face instead of with my back turned.
Well, a couple of things. When somebody has their back to you and they take essentially a sucker shot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? Does that piss you off that like he couldn't do it face to face?
Yeah, I mean, he waited until I turned and then he jumped me, and you know, it's typical for me. It's typical Brock Lesnar. Brock's complex kind of guy. He wants things his way. He wants everything to benefit Brock Lesnar, and when he doesn't, he's not afraid to take his ball and run home. So
do you think he's intimidated by you?
You know, it could be a factor. I mean, there was a point in time when Brock and I were both in the WWE together, and you know, he went to go to another show. I was on Raw. He went to go to SmackDown, and we've really never faced each other. I don't know if that's intimidation or if that's just circumstance, but you know, here we are years later, and coming in from different worlds and different angles. But if he wants to try his luck, I'm ready to go.
So his background is obviously wrestling. Then he got into the UFC. Well, he was obviously with you guys first, then went to the UFC. He tried to, procure mixed martial arts and really kind of engrossed himself in mixed martial arts for a period of time, short period of time. And now he's back with, or was supposed to come back with you. Yeah. Do you think he has an advantage because he was at the UFC, or do you train in?
Not necessarily. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he's going to step in the ring, in a WWE ring, if he's going to do something with me. And if that happens, and you know, I think he's kind of ensured that maybe it will, if he's willing to step back in. So I'd love to do it. And if he thinks he has an advantage, great. I hope that he thinks he does.
Bring it.
Yeah, bring it. I'm not ready right this second, but once I'm healed up, I'd love to take that test, because you know, there's a lot of tough guys in the world, and
he thinks he's the toughest.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
You know, what's interesting is that you know, I've known you now for years, and you remain in insane shape. What's your regimen?
You know, I've always weight trained, although in the last few years I've really kind of changed my philosophy on that and gone from, you know, in the years past when you're younger, and you and I have talked about this, your diet doesn't need to be so strict. I could just go to the gym and just kind of train as a bodybuilder. But when you're just going in and bodybuilding training, you're kind of not necessarily hitting all the small connective things. And when you're an athlete, those are the things that really matter. So about 2 years ago, I started training with a guy, Joe DeFranco, and he's one of the premier strength and conditioning trainers in the country. And he has made just a world of difference in my career. Some of the stuff, you know, I could lift a lot of weights, but
like, what do you bench press?
Probably in the low 400s right now. Yeah. Really? And that's the strongest I've been in years, you know, and that's from, it's funny, it's not really from training heavier in the bench press, it's from training all the other things
smaller muscles
that support these little exercises that he'll have me do with
no
like
weight.
2 pounds or something like that, and I'm shaking like a leaf doing them because
Right.
the little muscles are weak. And as they get stronger and they get stronger and in better condition, you can just in your bigger exercises, you can lift so much more and you can perform so much better. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to say that at 42, I'm probably in better shape athletically than I was when I was 32.
And you also train a little bit in boxing.
Yeah.
Is kickboxing as well? You do?
Yeah, I do some kickboxing, although I tend to like to work a little bit more with my fists. My guy's always trying to get me to do more kicks and knee strikes and stuff, and I tend to like to do a little bit more boxing. But yeah, it's something that I enjoy. I'm not a real big guy on, especially now that my wrestling career has slowed down and I'm focusing more on business. I'm not a guy that can walk for an hour on a treadmill or run on a treadmill for 30 minutes. I'd rather do mitt work for 30 minutes or heavy bag or speed bag or something like that and be more active in that way. It's for me, it's much more entertaining,
And what kind of comes to mind is so to stick on the Brock subject just for a little bit more. So here's a guy that goes into the UFC, right? How old is he?
I think Brock's in his mid-30s.
Mid-30s, all right.
Yeah.
Would that be something you would ever entertain?
No. It's a different world. I truly think that, Brock, for me, that was something that he was kind of custom built for. I think he, I've known him for a long time, and when he first started with us, I'd never seen a guy that size at near 300 pounds, but just lightning quick and fast. And his background in amateur wrestling really made him very well suited for MMA because he had such a structural background in takedowns and controlling guys on the ground. And then for him was just, I think, improving his striking and his submission work. But yeah, for me, I'm it's like the line in Gladiator. I'm an entertainer.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'm sure you would entertain many people if there was ever a match between you and Brock.
Well, we'll see if it ever happens. I think it'll be good.
I mean, because he obviously crossed the line. I mean,
he crossed the line.
I mean, you're in
Vegas
Vegas with your wife,
yeah.
Stephanie McMahon, hanging out. Come to my show last night, Believe.
Yeah. Which was phenomenal, by the way.
Oh.
I really, I mean.
We'll quote you on that.
Yeah, it's something that again, I've known you for years since we had
my start.
Since your start in Times Square, and always been a fan, watched your show and all that, and we've kept in touch over the years. But this is the first time we've had a chance to come and see your Vegas show, and we were both blown away. I mean, it really is a phenomenal show.
Thank you very much.
It's fast-paced, it's exciting, it's funny, it's got a little bit of everything. It's really good.
Well, that's the thing. I saw you guys and I see your arm. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
wow. You're here to Vegas and it's like, walking around with it's like you're
job
up.
hazard.
Yeah, you got to seek revenge, my friend. Seek revenge.
I'm on my way. It's just I got to heal up first,
So tell us, how did Triple H come about? The name.
Oh, the name.
Yeah.
It's funny, jump back to when I started in the WWE, back to like 94, 95, and it was so much more character driven. Our business was very character driven. You had to have a very distinctive character. You were, the big boss man as a cop or a fireman or something like that. Everybody had to have a very distinct gimmick, and I was brought in as the Greenwich, Connecticut blue blood snob called Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And as the business changed and we became much more of a reality based and a lot less character driven.
Right.
I mean, we're very character driven. That's what drives our business, but less cartoonish. You know,
it became more you.
Yeah, it just became me, but I just had time invested in the Hunter Hearst Helmsley name and didn't want to get rid of it. So everybody in the back called me Triple H. And that kind of nickname just stuck, and that's what we went with.
And how did you get your start, though? Like, how did you, because back then, we were talking about this in the car driving over to the studio. What's interesting with magic, wrestling, those were very guarded secrets.
Yes.
People kept them close to their heart. And they didn't share that. Like, I had to go to the library in a card catalog to get a 50-year-old book on magic and try to figure out how that could apply to today.
Yeah.
Now they have the internet. You can just learn things and try them in 2 seconds. But how did you get your start?
Yeah, and it's same for us. You know, now you can go on the internet or you can look locally, and there's almost a guy in every city somewhere that would train somebody, whether he's good or not, to become a you know, sports entertainer, the WWE star, professional wrestler, whatever you want to call it. At that time, when I was trying to do it, nobody gave that information up. If you were in the business, it was a very heavily guarded thing, and nobody really talked about training and how to go about doing it. So it was a difficult thing to do. And you know, for me, was something that I was a huge fan from the time I was probably 5 years old, and wanted to get into it. But how do you start? You know, and I got lucky when I was about 18. I met a guy named Ted Arcidi, who was a power lifter that got into professional wrestling, and he tried to steer me clear of the business. He wasn't a big fan of the travel, but it was something I just wanted to do, and I finally badgered him into giving me some names, and I ended up with Killer Kowalski, who was a very famous old wrestler from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and he started training me, and you know, it was one of those things. I remember saying at the time, after my first day there, that it was the only thing I'd ever done in my life that I did for the first time that I felt absolutely at home doing. Like, I felt like I was supposed to do that.
Well, that's what it's in your blood.
Yeah, yeah.
What advice would you give to some of the people that are watching right now that might want to get into wrestling?
Well,
don't do it, right?
No, I wouldn't say that, because, you know, for me,
it's hard, right?
It's been awesome, and yeah, but you have to be very dedicated. The one thing I like about this business, it's kind of, the more work you put into it, the more you can get out of it, you know. But I would stress, and I know this will sound cliche, but education first. I just think that, you know, there's very few opportunities for guys trying to break into our business. There's very few big main event slots. So there's a lot of guys that won't make it, and a lot of guys that'll do okay. There's very few guys that'll make it big. So you got to have an education, and even if you do make it, that education
will help you.
Yeah, my father-in-law Vince McMahon has a saying about the guys that are the best guys in this business are the smartest guys, because they can work with it from a business standpoint. You can't be stupid in making.
They know how to
business.
maximize the opportunity on every platform.
Exactly.
And speaking of which, what is a family barbecue like with the McMahons? You have your wife Stephanie.
Well,
you have Mr. and Mrs. McMahon.
Yeah, let me just say that a barbecue at my house usually starts out with myself and my wife and the kids, and as soon as I start the grill up, my father-in-law shows up. He has this innate ability to smell that I am cooking and show up at my house unannounced. So no matter when we are cooking in the summertime, especially, we always buy extra food, because sure as anything, he's going to show up in the middle of the barbecue.
And I bet he can eat.
And he can eat, yes. It's one of the things he prides himself on. But it's, you know, it's probably no different than any other family. I mean, it's we don't really talk that much about business when we're all together. We're playing with the kids. We're having a good time, swimming in the pool,
when you're home,
the lake, whatever. Yeah, when we're home, we're home, and we're just like everybody else, except for the phone rings now and then, and it's you know, it's a work situation, and we deal with it and move on. But it's really good. The one thing that works for both my wife and myself, we're both very close. I'm very close to my family. She's very close to hers, and they've all become very close with each other. So we spend a lot of time. We really don't do anything outside of, I work, train, and spend time with my family, and that's pretty much it.
And come to Vegas.
And come to Vegas
once
now and
a
then.
year.
Yeah. But you know, that to me, all the money and all the other stuff, the fame, all those other things are just ancillary things. It's stuff that's important in your life, and you know this, we've talked about it, is your family. You know, the people that you care about and that are around you, your family that's around you. At the end of the day, that's really what's important. All the other money and all that other stuff, it's just comfort, really. And if that goes away, if you still have your family and the people that are close to you, you're still a rich man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You bring, I mean, the whole organization brings so much, you know, joy and excitement and entertainment to so many millions of people around the world. What has been like the craziest story that has ever happened, whether in the ring, maybe at your hotel, something happened with a fan, like something nuts.
I just think for me, like this was years ago, and it was one of the first times that I realized the global reach of what we did. Is I was in India, and we had gone over to India. First time I went over there, and we'd been there for a couple of days, and this guy told us, obviously there weren't very many gyms there at the time, and this guy told us he knew of a gym, and it was, you know, not far away, and we could walk there, and he would bring us there. The guy said we could work out, and we left to go. And as we were walking, just a couple of us walking down these dirt roads, and there were all these mud huts on the side, like mud huts with grass thatched roofs and stuff like that. And these kids started seeing us in the street and started yelling our names and coming out. And by the time we walked probably the half mile that it was to where this guy had a gym, there was probably a couple thousand people following us, all yelling our names. And, you know, for me, that was a very mind-blowing experience.
Probably surreal.
Yeah, and like, because I remember asking at the time, like, how do they even know who we are? They clearly don't have TVs. And the guy said, they do. They all, you know, they know. And to see that reaction on people in the, you know, in the farthest reaches of the world, was amazing to me. So that's, you know, we do, and what we do is in the WWE, as we are saying in our company, is what we do every day is put smiles on people's faces, and we truly do on a global level.
And you do so much for charity. I know Make-A-Wish Foundation. People don't realize I'm involved with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but these guys, this organization has done and continues to do so much for kids.
Yeah, that's a big passion for us, is anything to do with kids. We're really big with the military. But especially the kids. Make-A-Wish for us is huge. John Cena is coming up on his 300th wish, is probably the most of any celebrity anywhere
it's amazing.
In the world. We also have something that we're very strong and passionate about is we have something called our Be a Star campaign. And that's it's our anti-bullying campaign.
That's awesome.
For kids, which is such a huge thing right now with cyberbullying and everything.
Out of control.
Yeah, and Be a Star for us is it's Be a Star, show tolerance and respect star, and we go to schools all around the country and speak on it and try to help kids get through it, because it's a terrible thing. It needs to stop.